Hey, everybody, it's Friday, March 15th. Welcome to Bombcast Revengeance. I've decided we're going to take a whole new tone to this show right now. You know, we watched Mikey Boy beat it right before this on Unprofessional Friday.
You guys are going to get me in trouble.
The community was also away and beating it in Balatro, baby. I'm your host, Jana Cho. Welcome to Bombcast Revengeance. Joining me, co-captain of the ship, as always, he's the constant ace up our sleeve, Jeff Grubb.
I love to watch my friends beat it.
The mic kind of clipped you there.
Yeah, it's for the best, I think.
It's probably for the best. It's probably for the best. We've got our own Joker. He's wild. He fits in every type of suit. He's multiplying all the time. Mike Minotti.
That was me. That might be Dan. Yeah, hi, it's me. I'm good at Balatro and Mortal Kombat mythologies.
That's right. Soon to be number 7 on the charts. That's legitimately very impressive, Mikey.
Oh, thank you, Dan.
Oh, yeah.
That's a word for it, yeah.
And we got our man on the street, our man on the field, reporting live from outside, checking out the birds. Dan Reichert.
I'll check in right now. In the last 8.5 minutes I've been out here, we've got a blue jay afoot, we've got a hairy woodpecker, we've got a red-bellied woodpecker, we got a red-winged blackbird. They're all over the place, I found. Black-capped chickadee, a house finch, and a northern cardinal are all in the immediate vicinity within the last 10 minutes. So we're going to keep an eye out here.
So you've not heard a house sparrow? Did you say house sparrow?
I think I might have seen one this morning at like 7 o'clock, but I have not identified it. It's not on my life list yet. No.
Okay, because they are everywhere at my place. There's a million house sparrows left and right and center all over the place. That's the one I get the most of online.
Breaking news, a downy woodpecker is around. So we do have a hairy woodpecker, a red-bellied woodpecker, and a downy woodpecker around, as well as the pileated woodpecker, which is the pterodactyl that keeps attacking my house. But no, the sparrow, I have not seen a lot of those. Definitely the one I have the most is the red-winged blackbird. That is all over the place.
I'm installing this app right now.
Dan, is this Stockholm Syndrome? Are you having Stockholm Syndrome from the bird attacking your house, holding you hostage, and now you're like getting super into birds as a response to that?
This is
like,
what I did with Mortal Kombat mythologies.
Yeah,
it's
that's
literally
exactly
what I did.
No one's
Syndrome.
ever compared Mortal Kombat Mythology Sub-Zero to bird watching.
Till today.
We're all about breaking boundaries here at Giant Bomb.
That's true.
Right?
Yeah, you turn a negative into a positive. Yes,
Yes.
numerous times a day, my wall is about to collapse from a giant woodpecker, and my dogs go insane, and everything goes in disarray. But I have a new hobby now. I'm looking into backpacks. I'm looking into new binoculars. I got all sorts of stuff going on.
Oh, Dan, are you going to go as far as to get like a ghillie suit so you can hide so the birds can like kind of come to you?
I've looked at.
Like
I
in
might
Modern
have.
Warfare.
I'm going to start dressing like a Dudley boy, so I got like camo going on.
Okay.
Yes, I'm going to start going like into the bush. I think there is. I keep getting sound. I'm sorry. What, Mike?
That's
Mike.
What made you laugh there?
Nothing. Go
He
ahead,
must be
keep
watching
going.
funny YouTube videos in the
Yeah, we
background or
saw it.
something.
No, I funny dog.
Penny did
Okay.
something funny.
Tell me more about your going into the bush.
All right, I'm going to go deep into the bush. I'm getting waterproof galoshes, and I'm going to be protected from the elements. You see, I got to go down there. There's a mallard. I keep hearing a mallard. I can hear it, and my phone hears it, and it's down there. And all I can see is the ripples. I haven't made a full visual ID on the mallard yet, so I'm keeping
Where's
an eye
that
out.
lol emote there? It's all right. I found it.
Lol.
I feel so I have the newer iPhone and it has like the really good zoom lens for iPhones. And I've just been trying to snipe birds because Scout scares off every single bird in the vicinity as soon as she hears it. So I'm gonna have to strategize my birding.
Do the sound stuff. Like I've done the photo. The photo thing works pretty well, but like I think the sound stuff, it's like live, and then you can start identifying the actual. Like I know the song of the red-winged blackbird now. It's like, oh, I know what that is. Oh, there's the mallard. That's this. You know.
That's
How
incredible.
poetic, Dan! Wow.
Yeah.
I like this.
You see any snipes yet, Dan?
No. I went hunting for him in Iowa when I was a kid, though, and I didn't find any. You wouldn't.
Yeah, you have to go really early in the morning to go as far into the woods as you possibly can.
It was like 3 a.m, and I went real far ahead with that bag. I didn't see any.
All right, we'll keep trying.
I think I get it. Gentlemen, welcome to the end of the week. And folks, thank you for joining us for another episode of Bombcast Revengeance. We got a couple games to chat about off the tippy toppy here. But since we're talking about the bird app, Merlin, right? That's Merlin?
That's the
That's
one.
what that is.
Like the
Yeah.
Disney character.
Okay.
Okay.
I would have
All right, no.
like several different iterations.
Sword
of
in the
Merlin.
Stone. Good one.
Yesterday, during voicemail dump truck, when Dan brought up the Merlin app, I wound up asking about if there was an app to identify mushrooms. And shouts out to Ticklebits, because Ticklebits suggested Merlin to Dan. They also suggested the app Seek by iNaturalist. And it reminded me, I already had that app on my phone.
Yeah.
And I was identifying a bunch of plants and stuff. Yo, by my apartment, I grew up in Daly City like majority of my life. But this part of Daly City, there's so many mushrooms that I'm low-key terrified.
Are they like things that, like, if a dog ate them, would it be bad for him?
I have no idea. But some of them are like very large and bulbous, and like, I mean, a lot of mushrooms are very phallic looking, but some of them are just like, damn.
They look like soccer balls sometimes, like that size, and they're just big and round. Yeah.
Like one was probably like the size of like this jar, just like in terms of like going up. Or
before the
I don't like that. They should only look like they do in Mario Brothers. I hate when I see other kinds of mushrooms.
You don't like the chicken of the woods, like those weird like planky, the ones that look like they'd be platforms in like a wood level of a 3D platformer.
Well,
those are cool. Like Little Nemo the Dream Master. It'd be like
I just get more excited when I see one that looks exactly like I imagine a mushroom looks like in my head, which I do have in my yard sometimes, which I've learned is not good. It means your yard is dead or decrepit. They use some word to say that, that only happens because that yard is bad. I'm like, oh, okay, well, shit.
Do you see I got the bread on the tree here. So I had two slices.
Bird kebab.
One bird kebab was taken. The other one is fresh. Also, I am sitting on the deck that was like red alert on my house inspection that is like due to collapse at any minute. So this could be the funniest possible last podcast I'm ever on.
Well,
wait. What? Have you done anything about this information?
Nope, that's going to have to be next year because I got a retaining wall to deal with first.
You got a retaining wall to deal with. Yeah,
I got to keep my house from falling into this pond. that's first, and then I'll worry about not collapsing on this deck.
Oh, that's what it's retaining. Okay, your whole house.
I'm going to warn you right now. This cannot be a bit where you like have made a video of your deck falling down by pretend, and I have a heart attack because I think I just watched you die.
I have my lines.
And we're crossing them today.
Yeah, the line is faking my own death. That's okay. Noble line.
God, what are you, Kate Middleton?
Yeah, that's not fake.
No, there's nothing fake about that. We broke that story today.
I did always, for years and years, hope that Andy Kaufman was pulling like a super elaborate fake death.
No.
I hoped for that, you know?
I was always hoping the same, but for Eddie Guerrero. But like, that dude's like dead.
I was listening to Deadlock, and James, one of the hosts, went to the Royal Rumble this year, but he doesn't watch the product, so he doesn't know that the LWO's music starts with "Viva la Raza," and he couldn't see the screen from where he was sitting, so he just heard that music during the Rumble, and he's like, "What? Like, what are they doing?" Like, I thought it was like Eddie coming out.
I guess
maybe a smidge lower on that gain thing, by the way, Dan. I think.
Yeah.
By the way, Jerfin chat says, just chiming in, this would not be a workplace injury. Thanks.
I'm on the clock. I'm on the clock.
Mm-hmm. And Beckler did demand that you bird while podcasting.
He did. I've got the paper trail.
No playing games here because we played games before this podcast. And we're going to talk about them now. I'm thinking about getting an electric guitar to live play the transition music.
Oh, that'd be great.
Ooh,
Yeah,
nice.
only
you
for
can
VCR.
just let
though.
Mike go. There he goes.
There you go.
Doesn't,
okay.
doesn't quite match the vibe I was looking for, but
Okay.
He's got the electric guitar of faces.
there we go. Actually, I like that.
Cool.
Yeah. And then we'll get like a tumbleweed rolling through.
Yeah.
I have to admit, I was still playing Balatro while the podcast was happening, but to be clear, I made a boo-boo because I was playing Balatro while the podcast is happening. I'm on Ante 7, about to actually beat him, getting 100,000 like every 2 hands, and I wasn't looking because I was talking to you guys, and I did the thing where I swapped out all of my jokers for one like polychrome joker or something like that.
Yeah,
And so,
I hate when I do that. Because you just
Everything's
see
been
the like
destroyed.
1.5, that's good. Click.
Yeah, and I just watched all my jokers disappear. So I've been punished cosmically for this. So don't worry, everybody.
Quick update. The first rare bird I've seen, there is a purple finch in the area and also a dark-eyed junco.
That's me.
Whoa.
The dark-eyed Junko.
The
Janko.
dark Junkos in your yard. Wait, does it really rank them by rarity?
Yeah, you get a red dot next to him if it's rare.
They're just
It's like
Pokemons. Oh, the dark-eyed Junko is cute.
No, dark-eyed
Oh,
Junko
my
is common.
goodness.
But yeah, that is good. The purple finch is the rare one that's around here right now.
Yeah, but I'd rather have a Junko. Let's be
Such an obscene
Junko.
amount of birds around you, Dan.
Beat the
There's a lot
Junkos.
of birds. Yeah.
I have been playing, or I started playing again, Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown.
Hey.
Yeah.
We chatted yesterday on Game Mornings about the DLC dropping for that, and I thought, like, maybe instead of waiting for that to drop, I'll just try and like jump back in and beat it. And let me tell you, I completely forgot how Celeste-esque some of the platforming crown segments are, and just like, Jesus Christ, I feel so alive whenever I'm not touching the ground. And like, you just get through the whole level. It's, oh my God.
Yep.
It's like the Balatro thing where you make the mistake where you set the fake version of yourself and then you like go to warp back, or like you go to set one and you forgot that you set one before and then you warp way back to the beginning of the whole jumping sequence. Like that screwed me up a bunch. Is the DLC like, is it addition to like single player stuff? Well, it's a single player game.
There's going to be a series of updates. There will be some like stuff that's like, oh, here's a challenge pack of different things, of like the platforming challenges or the combat challenges. Boss rush. But there is going to be a story DLC at the end of this. So there's going to be some free updates, and then a little bit later there's going to be full-on story addition to the game that is a full-on expansion.
Standalone like new areas, or is it like baked into the original
I don't think
map?
we know that yet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but it turns out that photo map system still plays really well when you're revisiting the game like a couple months later. And like, okay, I'm kind of parsing together where I was supposed to be going, what I was doing, or what was at least important to me. And Jesus Christ, y'all, it's just, it just controls so well. Like the level of air control, and then like the maneuverability in like being able to pivot, but also just do that like somersault back and then like dashing forward. The movement is great. And like the combat, I wound up trying to switch it up, and instead of just going full melee, I did the thing, Dan, where you kind of like charge the bow, so you shoot at the boomerang, and then I upgraded that a bit, and then I didn't realize how handy that donut would be.
Wait, I'm trying to remember. Can you warp yourself to that to the boomerang thing?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, that is an upgrade. Right?
Yeah, I might not have that ability yet, but that is a thing.
Oh, okay. Well, I know what I'm going for now.
I thought that's what Jim was saying. Okay, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's what I thought too. What donut are you talking about?
Oh, no, the charging of the bow.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
It's like
wait
a
till you
donut.
warp to it.
It's got a hole in it. Jeff knows what he'd do to that.
I'm sorry, what's that, Mike?
Nothing. I'm sorry. Look, I can't help it now, okay? You guys just keep screaming about beating it and going to bushes. Now my mind's in a dirty place. I'm sorry.
Mikey, I don't know what you're talking
Video
about.
games and birds, Mike. What are you doing?
Come on.
Look, I'm just really excited for Stellar Blade so that the revolution can finally begin.
The revolution is here, everybody. The revolution of butts in video games.
I can't, like, yo, people need to fucking, they need to cut everyone's Ethernet cords.
Man, sounds like you're not part of the revolution. You want to be left behind, buddy?
Listen, it's been well documented. I enjoy rear ends and very thick thighs. The way that some people be going about this, like, y'all should be kink shamed.
Yeah, they have not been bullied enough. Absolutely.
Y'all have not been bullied enough. Maybe, I don't advocate for bullying or physical violence, but maybe you should just get like shoved into a pile of leaves or something.
Just gently wedgied. Yeah.
And just like a pat on the back that's a little too hard that makes you spill your drink.
Okay,
one of those.
That's where we'll draw the line. That's good. Yeah.
I've also been playing, and I also played with Grubb and Mike yesterday, the Star Wars Battlefront Collection.
Yeah, the classic
if I remember correctly, at least Grubb, you had not really played it as much back then, right?
I didn't play it. I checked it out a couple times in the past to the point where I would say mostly I've never really played it.
Okay, and Jan, were you of the age where it was just the holy grail of gaming? It seems to be like a very brief window of age where they obsess over Battlefront.
So I mentioned yesterday, I remember checking out the first one in the collection a little bit. I don't think I ever went online from my recollection.
I am curious about it because I like Star Wars stuff and I like fun like PS2 era multiplayer stuff. Does it hold up for someone who doesn't have nostalgia for it?
It's fun.
Yeah, if you're like me, you just like games from this era generally. It's fun. the campaign stuff is actually surprisingly good. That might be what you really want to check out.
I think it's probably worth checking out for that.
And it is like bot matches, but it's presented very well. Bot matches. There's good dressing around that stuff. But I was surprised how much those newer Battlefront games actually are still like this. I mean, this collection itself is not doing much work. It's not even a remaster, really. It really is just kind of like ports with some things. Like, okay, yeah, you can do it at like widescreen and window mode and whatnot. I think they missed a trick not doing more with it because these games do mean so much to so many people. But yeah, I had a fun time. I still want to put it on like my Mount Rushmore Star Wars games, or even my Mount Rushmore of like PS2, Xbox era Star Wars games. But I was having a good time. I mean, look, you like let me be like a stormtrooper, and then I'm running around Hoth, and you play the Star Wars theme. Like, it's gonna do something to me. I am that simple.
That is an amazing superpower those games have. It's just like you just use the soundtrack, and it makes everything seem more exciting and impactful.
Well, I mean,
I did enjoy being on those menus more than playing the game.
Sure. Well, I mean, that's the thing about Star Wars is like the sound editing really is like almost 80% of it. Just the sound effects and the music, and if you get that stuff right in the video games, you are going to have a really good time most of the time. Yeah.
Speaking of licensed games, Jeff, you and Tam were just laying into Jurassic Park games, saying that there've never been good ones. I'm not going to let this Jurassic Park Rampage Edition slander slide.
Wait, was Rampage Edition an update on the Genesis game? I had the Genesis game where you could be Grant and the Raptor.
That's the messed up thing. Rampage Edition, a full-on sequel that they just called a Rampage Edition for some reason.
That's the bad idea.
That's weird.
Because I own the original, I don't think I ever even thought about getting Rampage Edition.
Oh, it's bad. It's much better. It's similar, but much better. Yeah, play Rampage Edition fun. Also, those Evolution games, the Park Sims, I thought those.
Yeah, that's what I said. I tried to be like, I couldn't remember what they're called. I've never played them, but I thought people liked those.
You did bring up the 3DO game that I had and loved for being real freaking weird.
Steph likes that a lot. My wife really enjoys that Jurassic Park game. So
who's gonna do Trespasser and have to cosplay as Minnie Driver with a heart on their boob?
It'd be great. That game's not like super easy to just play because it was just an old PC game. But boy, that'd be a good one.
Would it work in DOSBox? It'd probably work in DOSBox.
No, we made like 10 years ago. We had A Striker put it together at Game Informer. We had it running. Like you can do it.
Okay, all right, we can get it going then.
Okay.
But overall, though, Battlefront is kind of what I was hoping for, an easy way to get in there and check these games out, and that stuff works in our scenario where we were playing, like Sean set up a room, we went in there, we had no issues. A lot of people are running into bugs and connection issues, like trying to do things like the matchmaking. That doesn't really work well, I guess. But in my experience, I got in there, played a couple of these matches. We played for quite a while. Yeah. And I thought the maps were really well done. I thought the heroes were like, it was always fun to kind of play as Darth Maul or Jango Fett or whatever. And I'm really glad that they do the thing where it's all of Star Wars at that time. So it was the prequel trilogy and the sequel trilogy. I was like okay with games that were like, we're just going to be prequel trilogy. Sorry, yeah, prequel trilogy and original trilogy. And I was okay with games that were like, we're just the prequel trilogy. That's what's coming out right now. But I was always going to miss the original trilogy stuff. So seeing this game be like, no, it's everything. It does feel like the Star Wars game. It's just all in there, and I like that part of it.
That sounds like a good future Revengeance topic, is the Mount Rushmore of Star Wars games.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Jeff and I did something like that on our own one time, but it would be fun to like get more people involved with that. Although, maybe we have to make sure we get Jan playing KOTOR first. I'm sort of invested in that idea.
KOTOR's
KOTOR rules.
I'm still trying to figure out where we could squeeze that into the weekly schedule. I mean, Mondays have a little bit of time.
Things are going to start slowing down here, I think, for the release schedule as we actually get into summer.
Dragon's Dogma.
So maybe we can start figuring out more time on the schedule for stuff like that. Because there's a couple other things that I wanted to check out. I want to play Mother this year, or Mother 3 at least. So I want to play Mommy.
Okay, all right. I think my only qualms with it is that like, oh wow, this just looks like the PS2 game, huh? And then playing it with mouse and keyboard, maybe I should have switched to a controller to play this game instead. But I think I suffered from the thing of what Dan was alluding to at the beginning of like this being lauded as like the best Star Wars game of this generation. and then with all the modern sensibilities that I've like absorbed of like, oh, okay, this is this. All right.
It is what it is. I mean, and Mike's right. It's very familiar after playing the Battlefront, the modern Battlefront games. Turns out they were just trying to recreate what people liked in those games, but through the lens of dice and Battlefield. So, yeah, it was more familiar than I was expecting it to be.
It's funny, we're talking about like, Battlefront being, for a certain age being like such a huge deal. Do any of you, like, I was just thinking, like, is there a game that I hold in extremely high regard that when I look back objectively, I probably, like, for me, I was thinking Twisted Metal 2, just because you were at the exact right age. Like, because I put Twisted Metal 2 up there with my favorite games of all time.
Sure.
But if I look back objectively, it's, it's very good for what it is. But, like, to me, it's like an all-timer. Like, did you have another one that was like the exact sweet spot?
GoldenEye's like that for a lot of people. I was never
me.
a big. I'm stubborn, and it's pretty hard for me to ever admit that a game that I ever
PC,
really
so he was
love.
playing Quake instead.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying, like, it's hard for me to like look at any of the games that I loved as a kid and being like, I see why this has aged badly. I'm just like, no, this is still great. This makes me happy. I'm gonna look at my top 100 games and see what I think is like the most aged one.
My joking answer is to say the Bouncer, but I recognize and realize that is not the best game. But
No,
I kind of like it.
I don't.
People have criticized my love for Final Fantasy Tactics Advance over War of the Lions.
I'm with you, 100%.
Okay, I'm with you too.
Yes.
Yeah,
because
I'm also 100% with you. Yes.
I actually enjoy the judge system.
Yep.
I know a lot of people hated it, but I don't
like
know.
that. That's cool.
All right.
Let me throw
I feel
this.
so much better now.
Let me throw this out, and I can't believe this has never once come up as an idea. I think in the 10 years ago I started the Giant Bomb. Not once has it come up. Should we at some point endeavor to get everyone on a series of podcasts and determine the top 100 games of all time, like Giant Bomb's top 100 games of all time?
Man.
Yes, it's definitely something I've always had in the back of my mind. Is like when we're doing live shows, when we're doing stuff like that. If we want to do a yes.
No, I think it's a
should do
series.
that.
I don't think we like a live show.
Yes,
You've got to
I know.
hard out.
No, it was
you know?
like I said, back of the head of like a possible idea. I always thought like, no, that'd be too troublesome, too big. Like I think we could do like a game of the generation for a live show. But if we're doing our top 100, a series, yes.
For the second Game Informer I worked on was issue 200, and so like one of the first ones that I was like in the meetings for was the top 200 games of all time, and that is a gauntlet. We didn't record any of it, obviously, but like it is such a conversation. If you get a bunch of different people with different opinions, whittling down a ranked top 200 of all time, I think even just doing like 100 would be amazing with us.
How are we?
I would like that.
How would you go about determining it, Dan? Is it just kind of like fervor and argumentative, or?
That's what's tough is because like I think we landed on The Legend of Zelda was number 1, and then like Tetris and Mario Brothers were 2 and 3, and so that was very much a like importance type thing because you have to set those parameters. You have to set the like, is it based on how good they are to play today? Is it based on historical importance? Is it based on how good it was at the time? So like I think we would have to set those parameters very clearly and be strict to them. Like, is it the top 100 games to play right now? The top 100 most important games of all time? Is it Giant Bomb's favorite 100 games of all time? Like, we got to figure that out.
Yeah,
But
there's
I
so
think that'd
many
be fun.
different ways that it can go, and like it's always like somebody like me, like I'll mention a lot of older games. I imagine like somebody else be like, oh, that's really aged, and then it's like, well, it's to me, it's like, well, what do I do with that? Because it hasn't aged to me, so it's fine. So how do I argue that it hasn't aged,
Right.
compared to it has aged, right? So
And
many
then,
things
like,
can get subjective.
Do you choose your favorite child when it comes to like? I would assume that Tam would present several Souls games, right? So do you just take the best one?
I mean,
or?
I'm gonna have 6 Mario games on there, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
I think most of them should be on there.
There can be
yeah.
multiple Souls games, but
Okay.
like there will be a certain player be like, all right, not a 6 Souls game.
I mean, I would have probably at least 15 games with Mario in the title and like 8 with
Probably.
Zelda. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh man, this sounds fun. I already am feeling tense thinking about it.
I mean, I think the idea for this would be like Bombcast Revengeance episodes over the summer, like when things start to
Sure.
slow
Yeah,
down, we don't have
sure.
as much going on.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
we do like an hour a week for like a month and see where we're at.
Yeah, and we whittle for however long the
Oh.
episode is, and then we leave it there and we pick up next week.
You know, what'd be fun is if we had different casts for those different BCR episodes. So, like, a different group is kind of determining what they're going to bring up.
Yeah, but you guys are just gonna like take all of mine off and like call it a
Yeah.
funny joke.
No,
yeah,
no,
yeah,
we
he's going to
don't-
push
it wasn't
Kingdom
a
Hearts
really
up.
funny
and
joke.
then- yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
maybe we all get to, like, with those different groups, we get to, like, 50. So then, like, we see where, like, the Venn diagram is, where we mishmash.
Well, What if every group does bring in at least 100 games, and then we have to start cutting from there? And
We
so it's
Eurovision style the 100.
Everything's Eurovision with this guy. He never shuts up about it. Everybody.
I think there'll be a lot of games of like 1 point. There are a lot of ties.
Man, I think I would probably nominate an obscene amount of GBA games that no one's heard of, except maybe like Nikki and Sean.
GBA is
I
awesome.
like GBA.
Love GBA.
I bet I've heard of all your weird GBA games. Don't worry.
It's all like
GBA is
anime
I
shit.
think my favorite. Well, okay, maybe not that. my favorite console, I think, is the GBA.
Wow.
We should do like the site's favorite console as well.
GameCube.
Definitely. Yep.
I feel like it might sway to
Congratulations to
GameCube, actually.
Yeah.
Like thinking
Well
about
done.
Bacalars too, like it might be the GameCube.
Yep.
Did it. For a system that only sold like 25 million consoles or whatever it was, boy, is it beloved now.
The other game I have listed here on the rundown is Mario Golf.
Hey, you're playing? I thought you were playing it. Mike's been
Don't
playing
go.
this.
You're not excited. Yeah, it's me playing.
Well,
it.
I talked to you about it last night. I was like, oh, Jen's playing too. You two can talk. It'll be so nice.
My friends can play with each other.
Yeah, exactly.
They become friends too.
I'm just being Daddy Jeff over here.
No, this is I'm playing the NSO Game Boy Color release of Mario Golf. I've been playing Persona 3 Reload on my Roger Ally every night as my kind of bed game, and I've been having a lot of fun with that. I'm very deep into it, but it was like I could use a bit of a break. And boy, I do want to play Mario Golf, because these are the games that have the fun RPG style story mode. But more important than that, it's just perfect golf mechanics. It's not too complicated. It has everything you need. And what's hilarious is like, especially playing that story mode, and like even like being quite a bit into it. There's no Mario. There's no Yoshi. There's nothing about it that makes it Mario. It's not like when you're playing like one of the new ones and there's mushrooms and like floating blocks and lakitus everywhere. For a good while, it's just kind of a very straightforward, normal golf game, and I love that about it.
It rules.
I don't know why I have never I love golf games. I love Tiger. I love Hot Shots. Everybody's Golf. All that stuff. But like, despite my love of Mario and even like Mario sports games, that is the one series I've never like really spent a lot of time with. Like Toadstool Tour, any of the RPG ones, like I've never really gone into them. And I love the genre and I love Mario. No.
Okay.
I don't think I've given the time to any of them, and I don't know why.
I mean, this one's on NSO. It's worth checking out right now.
Yeah.
I think you would enjoy it.
The Game
and
Boy
then,
one?
the Game Boy
it's
one.
Game Boy Color.
Game Boy Color. And then the 3DS one is probably the other like really good one, but that's when it had online functionality. You could do these awesome tournaments and stuff. Man, that was so good.
What's great, even though it's like, I say like RPG story mode, it's not like bogged down in that much story or dialogue. It's just that you have a character, you walk around like a clubhouse, and you have to like walk to the course to start the match, and you know when you do well, you get to like level up your drive or your
you get experience points to make your golfer a better golfer. And that, I mean, a lot of that stuff is in like modern golf games now, but this is just like makes it feel like a fun little adventure, and it's all about the golfing. It's not about a bunch of like nonsense that distracts from the golfing. It's like, no, this is still very much a golf game. They nailed it right away with that.
So is that why
super
folks
fun.
were super upset with that last Mario Golf title?
Yeah, it's, among other reasons. But that's the main reason is that they always these days talk about, hey, there's a new Mario sports game, and this one's going to have a single player game you're going to care about. We're going back to the thing that you used to like, and we play it, and it's like, no, this is also pretty terrible. It doesn't get at the RPG stuff at all, and then it's actually just these bizarre, annoying, weird mini games like linked together one after the other.
Right. And
I've got some incoming opinions here real quick from Alex Boniello, who's apparently watching. He says, play Mario Golf on the analog. It's amazing and a perfect game for it. Don't do it on Switch. It's perfect on analog, says Alex Boniello.
Well,
That's fair too. Yeah,
sure. I'm just lazy. I'm going to play it on my Switch.
It's great on the. I was playing on the Pocket. It's great on
just play. And the Game Boy Advance Mario Golf is also the same people. It's Camelot. It's an RPG also. Also very good.
Is it as good, would you say? Like, if I like the look of Game Boy Advance games better, should I just go to the Advance
If you're
one?
more Game Boy Advance brained, I'd say just go straight to the Game Boy Advance one then.
Okay.
Advance Store, it's called, right?
I think I would check out the Game Boy Color one still first, and then if you're like, oh, I would enjoy this better if it was on Game Boy Advance, then go at that point. I hold such a torch for those Game Boy Color games.
You know, I acquired that analog Pocket off of Alex Boniello, and I haven't really fired it up. folks, send some recommendations my way
WarioWare.
for some
WarioWare.
GBA games besides
WarioWare.
WarioWare. Okay, I'll add WarioWare. It's already on there.
Hey, I'll get the Astro Boy game.
Oh, love that
Yeah,
one
that's
as
a
well.
great game.
That's
yes.
a hot title.
You're already good on Tactics Advance.
Yep.
You got
Ooh, the
Stuntman.
Castlevanias.
Yeah,
Castlevanias.
All the
Stuntman.
Castlevanias are incredible.
Ninja
you know-
5 is getting re-released.
I was pleasantly surprised when I checked out Stuntman on your pocket.
Yeah.
Grub. I was like,
Yes,
this street
it's
is amazing. Look at me driving.
The
Yep,
Tony
it's
Hawks
real
are
good.
kind of crazy on there.
Yeah, they're surprisingly
they're-
pretty
they're
good.
Fun,
There was a
actually.
popular Fire Pro that came out at launch.
The Fire Pro. Well,
Mm-hmm.
that actually takes us. You boys want to take a quick breaky break?
Oh, Sure.
All right. We're going to take a quick breaky break, folks.
Feeling pretty.
Oh,
Oh, no! Goodbye forever.
And then we'll be back with the hot topic of this week, which is wrestling games. Dan, do we have any bird updates?
Oh my god. I just went inside and I stopped the app. I am so sorry. I am off my game.
Wow.
Let's see who do you think is going to pop up first? I'm going to start recording. I bet it's going to
Harry
be
Woodpecker.
Okay, I'm doing
Red
sound
Morning
ID.
Dove.
Okay.
We don't have to be quiet. They can't hear us.
I would appreciate it's a red-winged blackbird. They're everywhere.
I think I said red.
Yep, it's the red-winged blackbird. Okay.
Folks, this week's hot topic is the wrestling game Hall of Fame, Mount Rushmore, whatever you want to call it. But before we get to that, I have some urgent news, some semi-breaking news.
Oh no.
I don't know if y'all saw this, but Twitch is going to get rid of the watch-along feature.
Oh, I'm very aware. Yes.
Oh, they
So-
are. I mean, I knew it was doomed for
It
a
is.
long
Like-
time now.
That's the thing. Is like I used it all the fucking time, and it was so much fun. I love it. And then I would look around, I'd be like, no one's talking about this, no one's doing it, and I've been waiting for this to happen. I knew it was going to happen. But it's April 2nd. I'm going to do Waterworld tonight. And then,
Oh,
really?
You're doing Waterworld tonight?
Why
didn't
did
know Waterworld was
Waterworld
on there.
Why did Waterworld get a pop?
I love
Because of the
watching
stage
Waterworld.
show.
I mean,
Well,
because I associate with the theme park stage show, of course.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to try to get a few in before it goes away because it really is one of my favorite things and on Twitch. And it sucks. I wish more people used it. It seems like a no-brainer, too. Amazon owns all these movies. They're trying to push Prime. They're trying to incorporate it with Twitch. Like, made a lot of sense.
There's ways to like fudge it, and I might try to do that in the future, and because there's like ways where you can like sync things up using Chrome extensions and stuff. I don't know.
I think a lot about that guy in Waterworld. He's just like some really salty, crusty-looking old guy on the bad guy ship who like works in the boiler or something. And then, like, at the end of the movie, like, a bomb drops into his room, and he looks at it, and he just goes, "Oh, thank God," before it explodes. And, like, kills him and everyone. He's so relieved that his pathetic life's about to end. I think about him constantly.
But I bring it up because maybe we should do Annette one more time.
Oh,
One last time.
Yeah.
The last song. The last recital.
The last.
But we would have to drag someone in that hasn't seen it.
Oh, of course. We can
Jeff
find
Bakalar.
No, Backlar has seen it, right?
Did.
no.
Yeah, Backlar's seen it.
But I want to hear him be grumpy about it as we watch it.
That's right. He can be on, but we also need to have people that have not seen it.
Yeah,
Maybe
we can
let's-
find some people.
I am
Sweet Lou.
Has Ben's? Oh, I don't know if Hanson's seen it. We should do it during the day. I'll have Hanson come over and have him watch with us in person with me.
That'd be great. That'd be fantastic. Annette's Last Stand on giantbomb.com, everybody.
Let's
Watch
squeeze
out.
in as many people as we can as well.
Yeah.
Gosh.
We'll make it an event.
Might be the last time anybody ever watches Annette.
My watch-alongs have not worked on my phone for months. That's how I knew this was going to happen. Every time I would every
They
time
don't
I would
work
try
on
to
TV
like
apps, phones.
yes,
yeah.
it would break the app on my phone, and it'd be like, I'm like, oh, okay, well, they'll fix this. And then I tried it again like 2 weeks later, and it didn't work. And now it's been months later. I'm like, yeah, they're not supporting this anymore. That's a shame.
Let's just get none of us are on it. We just get Bakalar's dad.
Yeah, that's Sweet Lou, totally, yeah.
Yeah, we just give him a microphone, set him
And a
up.
20-year-old Bud Light.
Fantastic.
He's gonna be happy. That just sounds like a night for him.
Folks, I have a document in front of me ready to add titles to the Wrestling Game Hall of Fame. And earlier today on Game S Mornings, Tam fervently brought up 2 titles that he thinks should be added. And I was going to back him up, but then Dan immediately chimed in and said they don't count. Those 2 games were Def Jam Vendetta and then Def Jam Fight for New York.
Listen, these are both great games. I will not besmirch the good name of the Def Jam games. They are hilarious. They are fun. They're on that Aki engine. It is a glimpse into what could have been if Aki kept making actual wrestling games. But they're not wrestling games. So you could maybe make more of an argument for Vendetta. There's a ring. Fight for New York, you're just fighting in they're all backstage assault type things. I think
A wrestling game.
I think it needs to be a licensed shoot wrestling game.
What?
I mean, that could be what we're doing here. I mean, I'm okay with if we're deciding that's what we're doing here. But if it's like a game like with wrestling in it, I think Def Jam probably does
Because
count.
there might be a line, because like there's that game on the GameCube based on that pure wrestling show that Jeff likes. What is that?
Yes.
Ultimate Muscle?
Yeah,
Ultimate
yeah,
Muscle,
yeah.
yes.
I mean,
That's
it is
that's a wrestling game.
So I guess we got to decide right now: does it have to be licensed WWF, WCW, ECW, or can it be anything with Simpsons wrestling?
That wouldn't. I mean, Fire Pro Wrestling wouldn't fall under that, so I don't think it has
It's
to be
true.
that
And Fire Pro
strict.
is straight up a wrestling game. Saturday Night
Yeah, I was gonna
Masters,
Yeah, maybe not that strict.
Okay, how about this? The action has to primarily take place in a ring.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Simpsons
Okay.
wrestling counts. All right.
Okay, it counts. And Def Jam Vendetta. That was mostly
Vendetta
in the ring,
counts
right?
at least. Yeah.
Okay,
Fight for
all right,
New
then
York
fine.
is in New
Fair
York.
enough. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So whenever we're doing Mount Rushmore, I try to figure out like who's the Washington. How do you guys feel
mercy.
about pro wrestling for the NES?
Don't care for it.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's fine, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
like
fine.
a lot of these 6 or 8-bit and 16-bit wrestling games, like some of them would be surprisingly good or decent for the time, and then A lot of them were just completely
Yeah.
wacky or wonky and really like always a disappointment.
I mean, the ones I started with were Raw and Royal Rumble on the Genesis and Super, and like they're going to be nowhere near the Mount Rushmore. Like they suck to play now. Yeah.
There's one on the Super Nintendo, like what Royal Rumble is not bad. And then you have, the Midway made arcade game, which is
WrestleMania the arcade game. Is that what you're talking about?
Well, yes, and then that and In Your House. They were both arcade
Right.
and PlayStation 1, early PlayStation 1, and there were 16-bit versions, yeah.
I don't know if any of those really make it.
All right. So then the George Washington is WWF No Mercy.
I think it's No Mercy.
Yeah.
So, okay, and I guess my question is No Mercy sort of just represent all of those N64 Aki
No.
games?
Well,
No.
I mean,
because they're all so similar.
how about this?
There's only 4 spots here. We're
Then
gonna
how
get
about
No
this?
Mercy.
Okay, then let's say one WWF one, so it'll be No Mercy instead of WrestleMania 2000. But I think World Tour and Revenge could be a different thing, even though they play the same.
Yes, it's just I trust me. To me, WCW versus NWO Revenge and No Mercy, they are like big pinnacles. But again, there's 4 spots here, and there's like half of them gone for these very similar games.
It might get boiled down to just one of them being on there, and it might just be No Mercy.
Right. They can both be up there for now.
I think there are other ones that have to be kind of bolded pretty early on here.
Yeah,
think,
let's just throw
here
some
comes the
titles
pain.
on.
Here
Yeah.
comes the pain.
I think
SmackDown,
Here Comes the Pain has a legitimate chance of being on the Mount Rushmore.
Yes,
I think so too, but may I posit that I think the SmackDown series actually it went on for a while longer, and I think it really peaked with SmackDown versus Raw 2006, the last pure PS2
2006,
installment. This was right when this was when kind of all the best features were there before it sort of became bloated when it went to the 360 era and they started just kind of throwing crap in here. This is also just like such a peak time. You have Cena and Batista on the cover. It was really when it was rebounding pretty big into that Ruthless Aggression era. There's some personal bias here. This was the wrestling game that got me back into wrestling. My buddy just brought this over, and it had amazing creative features. I think it was the first one with like a really robust create an entrance. This is my No Mercy in a lot of ways.
I mean,
but there definitely has to be a SmackDown representation.
I think Here Comes the Pain had a create an entrance, I think, but it definitely had, I think, a create a move thing. See, that's the thing. Once you start, all the years where I wasn't really watching wrestling, which is basically like 02 until 09, it all kind of blends together. And I know I was reviewing these games during the time, but I forget which ones. Like one of them would do a creative finisher, and you could make it like 10 fast motion kicks to the balls and then a stunner or whatever. And some had like a crazy create an entrance, but it all kind of like, I don't know what year SVR it is. It's hard to kind of narrow that down. I just know Here Comes the Pain, despite me not watching at the time, like that game was incredible.
I mean, Here Comes the Pain is one I remember pretty well. You're right. It's a bunch of mush for SmackDown versus Raw. I would have said, I think, 2007, because that's when they had analog controls for the first time. And I remember that, like, checking that out and being like, oh, this works a little bit better. But I don't think I played 2006. So
the analog controls went a little far for me. Like, they put it in everything, including a worse submission system. Like,
sure.
At 06, I think was the last one. It's just like, mash buttons for submissions. And then ever after that, they were trying to figure something else out, and then they're like, this went back. Just mash buttons. Actually, that works.
Yeah.
I kind of like how they do it now, where it's like you are mashing buttons, but it'll do the like switching the like X, circle, triangle, and it'll kind of tug of war back and forth. Like I like the way they do it now.
I will say, go ahead, Dan.
No, I was going to say real quick. I think in the last at least 10 years, I think the only one worth considering is maybe the most recent one. And even I don't think that makes it. I don't think 2K24 makes it on the Mount Rushmore, but I think we can almost discount the last 10 years.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
I don't remember any notable thing other than standing there for like minutes.
30 years of WrestleMania in WWE 2K14, but I think that's sort of deflated by them then doing 40 years of WrestleMania in this new one, and I just don't think that fondly of 2K14 for that reason.
And I do think 2K24 does that all better than 2K14, but I also
exactly.
like it has gotten better, but I still don't think anything like I'm trying to think like 12. They made a big deal out of revamping the engine and everything with 12, and I think that's when I really started hating the wrestling games is because like it just felt too like they're trying to be too simmy. It's just everyone's going through molasses all the time. It's a lot of watching moves play out, wacky collision stuff. So I think. I'm trying to think the last time I really was. I think the PS2 era might have been the last time it was just like, these games kick ass.
So I was going to ask if this counts. It still isn't a ring, and it is licensed. WWE All Stars?
It counts. I don't think. I mean, here's the thing. I reviewed that, and I was very excited about that game because it was like I was watching at the time. I wanted an arcade alternative to the more sim-focused thing, and it seemed like they were absolutely going that route. But there's not the content there. There is not like the actual like action and everything is pretty good, but there's like the story mode things or whatever are just like a couple stupid ladders. There's just the content's not there to play beyond. Like I reviewed it and I was just done with it, you know.
Okay.
I think you have to have more of a like, you know, even back with No Mercy and stuff like that, like a real career mode and creation modes and stuff like that. And All Stars was paper thin. It was like basically 2K Battlegrounds level almost of thinness.
That's very telling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it definitely. I like All Stars a lot. It was a ton of fun. I am kind of surprised, disappointed we never got an All Stars 2 that did sort of bump up the
Fix it up.
content level there.
Yeah.
How do you feel, Dan, about the GameCube game sort of culminating in a Day of Reckoning 2 here?
So that's
Stacy Keebler one.
I have been
You guys just
meaning.
have it on hand, Mike.
I was prepared.
I have been meaning recently to go back to that because, you know, I love the Deadlock Boys and they speak so they are the ones that like they could tell you, oh, SVR this did this and this did this and like the rosters for that this is what they do. They're like wrestling game YouTubers and the way they talk about Day of Reckoning on the podcast is like they hold it up there with the greats. So like I feel like I have not put enough time into Day of Reckoning. And that was an interesting time where PlayStation had SmackDown, GameCube had Day of Reckoning, and Raw was on Xbox. I owned Raw, and I remember the thing I liked about that was that you could like just hold the trigger and run in like free run in whatever direction. And like in the past, it was like 8-way, you know, like the Aki engine, just like run forward, down, up, diagonally or whatever. And being able to run just freely was cool. But that's to say that Day of Reckoning, I need to play more of. I could see it being a shot at the Mount Rushmore, but I don't know how much we have played it.
So,
Yeah, Go ahead, Jim.
one of my big blind spots when it comes to wrestling games is the entirety of the Fire Pro series. And I feel like the audience is clamoring for some Fire Pro talk, and I can't rightfully.
I mean, the one I remember, I went back and looked at this several years ago. It was Fire Pro Wrestling Returns because I got curious about the series and was this is the one that always came up as, oh, this is the big one. And when I went back to it, I watched a lot of YouTube videos and then I played some of it. The thing that stands out is they have the 2D visuals and something about the way that things animate and the way the wrestling works is like really, it just snaps into place in a way that I really enjoyed. And then it has the super, super robust create a wrestler features, create a match features where you can just do anything. And they had that since the game was, you know, on PS2 in North America for the first time with Fire Pro Wrestling Returns. It is, I think, the wrestling game you think of outside of the WWE and WCW games first is Fire Pro Wrestling. And I think this is the right Fire Pro Wrestling.
I think that's right. I mean, yeah, I remember playing this one, the PS2 and Returns, when it came out. And what I loved was that it is so different from all the WWE games that we're used to. It is so much grapple focus, right? And, you know, because it is sprites, the creative character stuff can sort of just do more, right? It's just way easier to swap in and out different face sprites and 3D models. So you can just put everybody in there. It already comes with a giant roster, right? And sometimes it's just straight up, you know, Japanese wrestlers, or they're kind of being cheeky, like, oh, that's obviously supposed to be Hulk Hogan, or things like that. It's an important pillar, and we're still making these. I think that there should be Fire Pro representation.
I have never played a Fire Pro game.
Yeah, interesting.
We should fire that up.
Yeah, we should have a wrestling stream.
There's a
play
curve.
Fire
There's
Pro
a difficulty curve.
Right.
Yeah, right.
I probably got hands on it, like when I was working at FuncoLand and that GBA one came out. But I think something about it not being licensed and not having a roster I knew, and then also the isometric perspective. I think I was like, okay, people seem to like this a lot, but like I never really played it.
Yeah, that's the same exact case for me, Dan. I just did not enjoy the look of it, but I understand that holds a very important place in history. And Alex Navarro really likes the Fire Pros, right?
Yes, definitely.
Yes, definitely.
Any other nominations? Ultimate Muscle?
Yes. So I mean, listen, I love Ultimate Muscle, especially the one for GameCube. Ultimate Muscle Legends versus New Generation. It is an Aki wrestling game. It's fantastic. The action's great. The characters are a really good time. There's a light create a wrestler features. Mostly you're just taking parts and piecing them together, like the head, the body, the legs. So that's not super robust, but I think that it's just a really fun party game on the GameCube with cool wrestling anime characters. And then you go look at that show, and that show is actually pretty good too. But I don't think it is a necessarily Mount Rushmore worthy, because I don't think it's necessarily influential or the kind of thing that people think of when they think of wrestling games first. It's just, oh, that's a good deep cut, a good hidden gem in the wrestling game genre.
Let me float a question here. I'm curious what you think about it, because we talked about the Aki games and just having one. But so much of a wrestling game is playing as the wrestlers you like and hearing their music, and you've got the sets and everything. And No Mercy very much had that like 2001 WWF, like crazy roster, played the best out of all the Aki games. But Revenge, when that came out, that was like the height of like WCW, and like it was just before it all kind of jumped the shark. It was in all the different factions and everything broken down. Here's the Wolfpack. It was like really cool versions of all these characters, and all these. You could be Wolfpack Sting, you could be Surfer Sting, you could be Crow Sting. Had Raven's Flock, had all these different factions. Height of WCW type stuff. I put Revenge right up there with No Mercy.
Yeah, as I'm kind of looking at it, I think there maybe is just a world where we do have both No Mercy and Revenge in there. They are just both so important. And
yeah,
they are kind of like two different sides of the same coin. Of course, they're very similar, but even that sort of reflects what was so fun about wrestling at that time, that it was, the Monday Night Wars. We did have these two companies that were obviously very similar, but very different. I definitely could see us just allowing both of them in there, especially, I'm trying to think like what else would even be up for consideration at this point.
Right.
Saturday Night Slam Masters is fun.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I'm going to put it up there as like an all-time great wrestling game.
So the conundrum I'm in is I desperately want to nominate Def Jam Vendetta, because I think it does a lot of interesting things in terms of controlling, and I feel like it has legitimately held up in terms of how it plays and how it's presented. It also does a lot of stuff differently when it comes to the world of wrestling, because it presents like how wrestling would be viewed in like a hip hop street urban atmosphere. And I think it's really sick that you could suplex Ludacris to the ground in it. But the problem is, I think Fight for New York is such a superior game that in my head, Vendetta is just lacking in
Yeah, you're right.
in all the terms where I feel like a wrestling game should be measured. And Fight for New York, we've disqualified it under these specific set of rules.
But we maybe could be a little bit less strict with that. I do think that if we did get Def Jam in there, because again, it's Aki, it's like, okay, well at that point we can't have No Mercy and Revenge. A 2 Aki limit.
But then like if we were to include it, Fight for New York, I think is Fight for New York another Aki joint?
Yes.
I know Vendetta is.
Yeah, they're both Aki. The third one, Def Jam Icon is
Icon's
not
not.
Aki.
Oh,
Icon's
God.
weird. Yeah.
You don't need to worry about Icon. We don't think about Icon.
Icon was the first time I have ever gotten legitimately very upset with a game and asked my mom to turn around and can we go back to GameSpot so I could return a game.
sucked.
Yeah, you had to like time it with like the speakers and the beats and stuff. Yeah.
Oh my
Guys,
God.
what about WWE Crush Shower?
It's kind of disqualified.
You said how much you like Twisted Metal. Look, you can get this rent it for 7 days, apparently, the sticker says.
I am so happy that game exists. It is a hilarious curiosity. Jim Ross yelling about Undertaker getting the twisty rockets and all that. I didn't play it much when it came out, and I've gone back to it, and it's just kind of a funny novelty, I think. I don't think it's a great car combat game, but it's so stupid seeing like, okay, what kind of car would Benoit drive? What kind of car would this guy drive? And like, it's like, oh, okay, I guess, yeah.
I love the lore of it, where Vince McMahon had bought like every TV station, so he's just desperate for content, so he just
Kane has a cooking channel, yeah.
So of course they all
And that would come true later with the WWE Network, where all those shows were actually happening.
Yeah.
I think this list is probably going to end up looking pretty close to WWF No Mercy, WCW. What was the one you said, Dan?
I think Revenge.
And Revenge, right? And yes,
Here Comes the Pain.
And then Here Comes the Pain, and then I think probably Fire Pro Wrestling returns.
So I take it my SmackDown versus Raw 2006 over Here Comes the Pain speech didn't move anybody, which is fair.
It did. It's just like,
it's hard.
What do we knock down?
It's Mount
for
Rushmore, and it is definitely the more iconic of the SmackDown games. It's important for a SmackDown game to be on there.
Yeah,
that's really my point, I guess.
Right.
Yeah,
Here Comes the Pain's going to stand out there.
and we know for sure that like a bunch of us played that. Like, whereas I don't specifically remember that. I don't doubt anything you say, Mike. I just don't remember playing
We'll have
it.
to
And
play
I do
some of
remember
them.
playing.
The soundtrack, by the way, all timer on 06. Oh gosh.
What about those M. Dickey games?
They're hilarious.
call me?
I called you an M.
them.
Dickey.
They're very, very funny. But yeah, funny
Right.
novelties, I would say.
Right.
It's like more of an homage to like the No Mercy era of games, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. The Dreamcast Royal Rumble sucked. It's funny that we haven't even mentioned the Acclaim, like Warzone and the Attitude stuff. Like, I liked them. Like, the first time I ever remember doing a character creator in a video game was the N64 WWF Warzone. And it's just, these games are so fun because, like, I took a couple years off watching, like, in the mid-90s, and then I picked up Warzone, and, like, I didn't know who Austin was at the time. And then, like, seeing, like, wait, why is Shawn Michaels saying "suck it" and wearing green? That's not the Shawn Michaels I know. I know like picking up on like where wrestling is at based on wrestling games. I think is really fun.
I think Warzone just never did much for me because I went to it after I had played like WrestleMania 2000 and the Aki games. And like that point, it seems a little rough.
They're not good. I don't think they make it on here, but like they were very popular at the time.
Yeah. What about some of the weird other company one-offs? You've got the ECW game that was on Dreamcast and other places.
I mean, but
the
those are the
Backyard
Acclaim
Wrestling
ones.
game.
Oh yeah, backyard
Yeah,
wrestling.
backyard wrestling.
Don't try this at home.
Man,
Yeah.
TNA had that Xbox 360 game. Man,
Impact.
I kind of want to play that. And AEW Fight Forever, which
Hey, virtual
Guys,
Pro Wrestling for N64. Not
yeah.
going to make it here.
Mike's best friend Jeff Jarrett's game, WrestleQuest.
Oh
Yeah.
of course. Yeah.
Dan's favorite. Impact's not terrible, says Marina. I want to play Impact sometime.
I suggest everyone actually give TNA/Impact a chance lately. The boys and girls over there been tearing it up.
Are they still in an octagon?
No, they used to have the six-sided. They went back
Six-sided
to
hexagon.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, they
I
changed
missed
the name back to TNA, so maybe they can do the
Anything's
six-sides.
possible.
Some people wanted it, some people don't, because apparently it was like it made for a stiffer ring or something. I don't know.
There's such a weird thing with that Impact game because isn't the thing like I don't know if it's the career mode or whatever, but you play as a character named Suicide that's like a masked wrestler, and it was not based on a real guy. But then I don't know if it was a marketing thing in conjunction, but they made was it like Chris Daniels or Low Key? It was Daniels.
I think
but
it was
like,
a few people, but it was
yeah.
Daniels for sure at one point.
Yeah, so like it was a work for the game and became a shoot on TNA.
Yeah,
later.
wrestling's cool. Wrestling's amazing.
It is really good.
All right.
Oh, it's
What about
Kazarian.
Roses.
Kazarian was first. Oh, Rumble Roses. Jesus.
What about Rumble Roses?
Nah.
Okay.
No.
I just wanted to put it up there.
Dan's not a pervert.
No,
I reviewed that game.
Rumbleverse it doesn't take place in a ring primarily.
No, but what a good game.
Yep.
Yeah, too soon, man. Just like God, just give it enough legs. Like oh man, one of the best elbow drops in a game ever.
Okay, so if we do have No Mercy, let's see, SmackDown, Here Comes the Pain, Fire Pro Wrestling Returns, and WCW NWO Revenge, what's the one you guys are kind of like bummed out's not going to make it? Because I would like to see Ultimate Muscle on there, but there's just no way I'm going to remove any of those for Ultimate Muscle.
For me,
Yeah.
For me, it's Fight for New York.
Yeah, listen, if Fight for New York was eligible, Jan, I'd be 100% with you. That's one of my favorite games on the GameCube, a system I love.
Yeah. And was it Vendetta or Fight for New York that was responsible for COVID?
What?
Sorry?
Can't remember, but they had Fight for New York had the T-Mobile Sidekick in it, so it's one of the coolest games of all time.
Explain this joke about the COVID.
Okay, so Alex and Vinny were going to go play Fight for New York in person, and this was like the week that everyone was like, oh, maybe you should go home, maybe you should stay home. And that was the last in-person stream from the website for a good 2.5 years.
Oh, wow.
Jeez.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
Fight for New
killed
York.
Giant Bomb East.
We should do a Mount Rushmore of games with the Sidekick in it. I'm on giantbomb.com, and it turns out it was in Tony Hawk Ride, Midnight Club, Los Angeles, Skate. It was in the first Skate.
Yeah,
and
it
then
was.
Def Jam for New York. So actually, there's your Mount Rushmore right there.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, given the strict rule set we've put on, I would also like to see Ultimate Muscle because it's just a batshit game.
Yeah.
I can't abide the character designs and all.
Yeah, he doesn't like the characters.
They
Also,
weird me out.
They are
Also, there's
ugly.
an Asian character in there called Ramen Man, so maybe we shouldn't have it on the list. Never
I'll
mind.
allow it.
Hey, thanks, Chad.
I do say, I see Nikki saying, can we please play Tony Hawk Ride next week? We have to play it. I do have the skateboard and the game and a 360.
That's interesting to know, Dan. Okay, it's good to know.
That that may
It's
have.
not that bad, is it?
It's real bad.
If he's gonna play a motion control game, I am desperate for him to play the mech game for Kinect.
Steel Battalion.
Steel Battalion from Software.
Yeah.
Let me play the one with the cool controller. I don't want to be the controller.
You're the controller.
Yeah, controllers rule. Why are we trying to get rid of them? What are you talking about?
Yeah.
I'm a little, of course I'm a little sad we don't get 06 in there, but that's just such a personal thing. The GameCube games are very cool. I kind of agree there's no room for them. And there's not really like a succession line with these like there is with the SmackDown, so it's more important to get that in there. But even all of those, like I even played the first one was WrestleMania 18, and then there's WrestleMania 19, then Day of Reckoning 1, which I don't have yet.
Remember 21 was terrible. They did 21 on Xbox, and that's like notoriously bad.
Was that the famous bad one, or was it 20 that was the famous bad one?
I don't know if they made it 20.
I think 21 was. I think 21 doesn't exist because they took a year off.
No, I thought I reviewed. I thought 21. I thought they didn't make 20.
Let me see here now. Oh, they made 20. They never made it 21.
The podcast.
Then it must be 20.
I remember things.
I'm not
They made it
old.
20. There's no
Wait, but
21.
You weren't trying to remember.
Marino's saying 21 had broken online.
There's no 2K21.
Not
That's
two.
according to Wikipedia.
Oh, sorry. Wait, we're mixing things up here. I thought you were saying WrestleMania 21.
Is
Not
that-
2K21.
I just
2K.
like-
okay, now I get what you're
Yes.
saying. We skipped that year. Yeah.
2K21
sorry.
doesn't exist. 2K20 was the
I'm
super
sorry.
terrible one. I'm talking about original Xbox had a WrestleMania 21 that was fucking terrible.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Yes.
I thought original Xbox just had Raw and Raw 2.
No, there's. I want to say it's WrestleMania 21 on Xbox. I think it was the first wrestling game I reviewed, and it was fucking awful. I remember.
Okay, well there you go then. You know what? Another fun fact about Day of Reckoning is that there's like a weird like alternate universe story mode that does actually like get followed up in Day of Reckoning too.
Is that the one where you can be like Scott Steiner and you have to blow up WrestleMania?
God, I hope that's true.
Throwing
God,
security guards up a skyscraper. Yeah.
Cool.
All right. Yeah, we should play that game, huh?
Yeah, we should play a bunch of these old wrestling games. That should be something we do on the site.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say I'm not the biggest fan of No Mercy, but I respect its place in all the pantheon of history.
Same. I mean, just because I was a fan of WCW, I do prefer the WCW games.
I get that.
Gentlemen, we've
Yeah, that's
forgotten one very important title, actually. And it's a licensed game. WWE Immortals.
I thought about it for a second. There's no
Amazing
ring.
idea. I brought that game up numerous times when I worked at WWE, being like, because they would bring me into meetings about the games and be like, "Hey, make this, but make it a non-mobile game. This was cool
make
as
it
hell.
for
You should do
console."
this." And they had no interest in that.
That's too bad, because that was... I mean, it kind of is a successor to those Midway games in some ways, but they really should have just made a sequel that was on consoles. Even now, they should do that. It would rule.
You know what else I pushed for was they canceled a game called WWE Mania, I think, and there was concept art that came out. There was Vince McMahon in a mech suit, but it was like a Power Stone style, like 4-player, like
What?
like
An
an
arena
apocalypse
fighter?
that happened. It was an arena fighter with wrestlers. It would have been about like early 2010s that it got canned. I think maybe it was when THQ got put under that it got canned. I'm not sure, but yeah, there's the concept art out there of Mech Suit McMahon and all that stuff.
Wow.
But that game seemed really cool. But no.
That's right, Ellie Miracle. Remember when Daniel Bryan was just himself in Immortals? Everyone else
Yes.
is like dramatized
Yes,
version of
that
himself.
ruled.
So just a guy in a t-shirt. Yeah.
Dude in a t-shirt. Well, is there any other outliers that we're not thinking of? Anything we haven't brought up? I feel like we've covered the gamut in terms of like big titles.
Yeah. I feel like we're doing pretty good here. Especially, again, Mount Rushmore, it's not necessarily best, even though I think you could maybe argue with these four. It is sort of the most emblematic, the most prolific.
What about WWF Betrayal, the one where Stephanie McMahon gets kidnapped and you have to beat a bunch of dudes up to save her?
That
Yeah, let's
sounds
put
like
that
Double
one on there.
Dragon.
Yeah, it is. It's that. It's a Game Boy game.
Just Double Dragon. Does she get shot in the sequel?
I don't think so.
I do enjoy the recent trajectory of wrestling games because like AEW Fight Forever, not the best game, but it had some decent stuff, like some neat ideas in it. 2K24, Dan, like you've been pretty hot on it, and it's making improvements. Yeah. Hopefully, we'll get to a place where wrestling games are super fun for everyone. But gentlemen, are we locking this list down?
Yeah, let's lock it in. What's
so.
our Mount Rushmore, Janichoa?
Our Mount Rushmore, Jeff Grubb, is WWF No Mercy, WWE SmackDown, Here Comes the Pain, Fire Pro Wrestling Returns, and WCW NWO Revenge.
That's good. That's
good. That's good. I mean,
I can't wait to the third game where we have to kill McMahon. That's
McMahon.
Yeah.
That floats off the tongue too well.
McMahon.
Well, folks, thank you for joining us for a lovely week here at giantbomb.com. This has been Bombcast Revengeance. A bunch of very, very great videos, content have come out on the website, and I suggest you take your weekend to go watch all of it. You can see Dan in a wig get lost in a void of sorts. If you missed UPF, go and check that out. We wound up turning it into a cooperative, competitive game where we helped our boy win big money. Jeff Grubb is still actively playing it right now, even.
That's right.
Go enjoy the weekend. Go listen to birds. Use your app. Go attract birds. Go just throw loaves of don't feed the birds. Don't feed the birds.
Feed the birds. Toppins a bag. Toppins.
Get us out of here.
Toppins a bag.
Make him stop.
I've been Jan. He's been Jeff. He's been Mike. He's been Dan. And those are some birds. Caw. 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 Caw.
I was about to say, are there any bird-themed wrestlers? I remembered Raven and also Marty Skrull, I think, still canceled.
And the Red Rooster.
Oh, the Red Rooster. And the Gobbledygooker.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
The Giant Bomb
Rushmore
is brought to you by birds.